1 second. All right. How to bring the trash can over. Okay, so today we're going to be making ground beef. And I know I've shared this on the channel before, but I'm doing it again because today we're going to make it slightly more fancy, at least when it comes to plating it. But of course, what we're doing, we have 1 onion, we have our defrosted meat, and right now we're just going to peel our onion. And this time I have a smaller onion, but you really just need 1. And we're just peeling the layers of our onion. We have our pan ready to go when we need it. I have to take out the olive oil still, so we still need some of that. And here we're going. Oh, you gotta love the process of peeling an onion, don't you? Okay. Take off all the stuff that we just won't eat. My set of knives still haven't come in, so I decided to just cancel that order and order it straight from the company instead of Amazon. Just because I was supposed to get them this week, but then it got pushed back to October, which is a month from now. So I was like, yeah, no, not doing that. Okay. Moving the trash so it's slightly closer. Okay. Taking all of that. And then we're just going to cut it again, right there. Okay. And then we're going to cut it in half. Oh, we're going to take that out. We're just going to go along and add some lines. And then we're just going to cut it. We're going to take out the bits we don't want to consume. That stem, just feel free to take it out. And now, because we have less to hold on here, I'm going to change the angle. This is part of the stem. Those seem to be good. So we'll just put these off to the side here. While we cut this half and do the exact same thing. Remember to cut it to have it the size you want it to be for your onions. All right, onions are done. I'm going to wash my hands real quick here. Just a little bit. And now I'm going to grab my olive oil that I'm going to be using for cooking. And now we're going to be turning on our fan, so it might be loud, just so you know. And this light turned off for some reason. Okay. We have our fan. We're going to turn it on to like medium high. And we're going to add our oil. Theoretically, I could have been doing this while cutting the onions, but I wanted to make sure I could see it. I want to make sure my focus is on it. I'm going to grab our spatula that we're going to use for today. I'm just going to move this trash can real quick just so it's out of my walking area. There we go. For some reason, that light keeps wanting to turn off. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, we're just going to have this oil cook up a bit here before we add our onions to it. And then once we cook our onions, we'll put them off to the side on a separate plate. And then we're gonna cook up the meat a little bit and all that jazz. We're also gonna need some salt and pepper when we put it on our onions. So I'll get that handy real quick. We're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and a teaspoon of salt. So I'm just prepping that off to the side. I think that it's hot enough, so we're just going to scoop up all of our onions, even though I just washed my hands. We're lightly just going to place it on our pan. Be careful though, you don't want any splashes. If anything, just scoop it onto the plate and like scoop it off the plate. Preferably away from you, so therefore any splashes won't come into your direction. But right now the temperature is low, so there is no splashing of oil. We are cooking with oil, so you should be wearing an apron just to protect yourself, but I don't have an apron here, so yeah. Okay. You can also use the back of your knife to help scoop it up. And once again, I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Time. We're going to start to add our pepper and salt. We're going to make it so it's touching everywhere. So this is for our pepper. Just a little bit, so more like half of 1/4 teaspoon for the pepper. And a teaspoon of salt. Okay. And we're going to use these again, so keep them nearby. But now we're just going to make sure the seasoning gets on all the onions and not just sit in some of the onions. So we're just going to make sure that gets everywhere. I did put it on a higher setting that I did in the other video, so it is cooking faster. And so because of that, you always got to know. That's why when you're at home and you're doing it yourself, you always got to make sure you have an eye on whatever you're cooking, because depending on your setting, depending on the stove you're using or the oven, it will be different for you than it would be in the video. Okay. So these are cooking up nicely. They're just going to sit there for a little bit more. It's going to sit there for a little bit more while I get the plate that we're going to be placing the onions ready, and I'm making it closer, so I'm moving some of this stuff. As you can see, I moved the cutting board. I made this plate closer just to make it more easy access and more accessible. Okay. We don't want to overcook our onions because they will be cooking again when we mix it together with our ground beef. But right now we're just going to move them off to the side just for a little bit here. Okay, wonderful. Take it. Okay. I'm going to put this right now off to a not so hot pan. I'm going to move this slightly out of my way here. And now we're going to open up our ground beef. And it could be the same knife that you use to cut your onions. That's okay, because eventually we're going to put both the onion and the ground beef together. I'm currently using, what was it? I think, hold on. I'm using 80-20 ground beef. So I think, I forgot what that means if I'm being honest. But it was the same meat that I used in my most recent video of cooking ground beef. Okay, this knife stay there. Okay, we're gonna add some more olive oil. And for adding the meat to the pan, because I'm still learning how to do that, I am gonna do it where the pan's not on a hot surface, and I'm gonna cut the meat out just a little bit here to make it easier for me to transfer. So by that. So I'm cutting it into squares in a sense, just to make it easier for me to transfer it. I'm trying not to touch it with my hands just because it is raw meat. There's one. And remember, oil does splash, so just be aware of that and lightly, gently add it. This is going much better than like the last video, if you've seen that. The last one I made a bit of a mess, so I'm learning from that and going this way with it. Okay. I'm going to quickly put this knife into the sink and wash it because it did touch raw meat. And then we're going to put this packaging straight into the trash. And luckily today I'm taking out the trash, so it worked out perfectly for me to make this meal. And because there is you have some of the blood that was from the ground beef, and this was where the ground beef was defrosting, we're going to put this in the sink as well and wash it. You don't have to wash it now, but be sure to like rinse it out and put some soap in it, and then rinse out the sink as well. All right, so now we can put it back on the pan, hopefully more gently than that. And we're just going to cut it up some more so it's in more bite-sized pieces while it cooks up here. Cutting it into squares of 4, cutting it into 4 did make it much more easier to cut it up on the pan, and I think it's going to just cook all better. So I think I'm going to do that method again in the future. I want to get this raw meat off of the spatula because it's just like gripping on it. Make sure we get all this. Looks like all the raw meat's not coming off, but that's fine. We currently have to add our seasoning. So I have some vegeta, which I'm going to add. Just going to pour it into this and just add it around. And then add some salt and pepper to it as well. And then same amount of salt and pepper as we did for the onions. And then we're just gonna mix it around one more time so it gets on everything and it's not all just on one. It's not all in just one area. And then soon we're also going to add our onions. Mix this around a little bit. Now we're just going to add our onions that we pre-cooked just a little bit earlier, and make sure to add it facing away from you, so then if there's any splashes, they're less likely to go in your direction. I'm trying to add as much as the oil as I have here. And then mix around the onions as well so they're not in one area. And the reason why we're adding onions is because they do add some flavor, and they're also just good to consume. And we did use yellow onions. We did not use sweet onions. Okay. While that's going on, I'm just going to lower the temperature just a little bit because I want it to cook for a little bit more. And now I'm going to grab my plate that I'm going to eat off of here. Do need, oh, I got a knife here. Okay. I'm going to grab some pickles here. Probably just one. And I'm just going to cut it up. And we're just going to have this on our plate as well. Okay, hold on. We're going to cut it on the cutting board. While keeping an eye on our ground beef over there. Okay. There's our ground beef. We're gonna close that up. And then we're gonna get our red cabbage. Open this up too. This time we're gonna grab a fork. And we're just gonna grab a decent enough, but I don't really like it with the juice. So that's why I choose a fork when I grab it. And then we're just gonna put it off to the side here. Okay, maybe not that much. My apologies. Okay, and then this is gonna be the fork I use to eat today. And then we're just gonna check on our ground beef, see how it's cooking. So right now you're looking to see if there's any pink or red in your meat, and you might want to cut up some of the big pieces just so you know none of it is still raw, because you want to serve it where it's edible. You want to serve good food, you know? And there's a reason why everyone in my household, they just love my cooking, because I take care of it. Because every time I cook food, I cook it to where I'm going to eat it. Like, I would love to eat it, you know? And not just cook to cook. Okay. I'm looking to see, but it looks like everything is going well. And it looks like we can take it off the stove in a bit. Just making sure nothing's still raw. Make sure it's all good. Okay. It looks like we're all set. So I'm going to turn off the stove. I'm going to take this off so it's not cooking, because even though we turn off the burner's still hot. So that's why you want to move it off of the burner you were using. We can turn off the fan. We can add some of this to our meal over here. Okay, hold on. We're going to move this fork a little bit. We're going to move this camera just slightly. We're just going to add some of our ground beef here. I don't really want the oil, so I'm not putting that on. And there we go. There's my lunch. And then we're just going to put this off to the side, grab that, and then I'm going to grab the lid, put it on top so it stays fresh and nothing goes in it. And there we go. There's our lunch. Our homemade lunch, whatever I found in the refrigerator. So yeah, hope y'all enjoy, and put in the comments below if you made it yourself. And if you changed anything to accommodate, maybe you don't like pickles and red cabbage, maybe you put something else onto the side of your plate. Let me know in the comments, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.